tuned to WPRB, Princeton, New Jersey, community-supported independent radio at 103.3 FM, or online around the world at www.wprb.com. Welcome to another edition of Classical Discoveries. I am your host of this program, Marvin Rosen, and I'm with you every Wednesday morning from 5:30 until 11. Thank you so much for joining me today. We go now to music as performed by our guests. You were just listening to Kad, or When, by the Croatian guitarist and composer Ivan Parovic, who lived from 1800 until 1873. In our performance, you heard soprano Dominika Zamara along with guitarist Stanley Alexandrowicz, both of whom are with me today in the WPRB studio. Well, welcome to both of you.
Thank you. Well, pleasure to be here, Marvin.
Great.
Hello, it's a pleasure to be here in Princeton.
In Princeton, yeah. Well, you live in Italy, right?
Yes, I live in Italy for many years. I sing in Italy, but I sing around the world. Actually, we have many plans with Stanley Alexandrovich, many concerts, and also opera with Maestro Watz of Mozart.
Right. Well, soprano Dominika Zamara was born in Wrocław, Poland in 1981 and studied at the Karol Lipinski Musical Academy. She later studied at the Italian Musical Conservatory in Verona and has worked with numerous artistic organizations in Europe and the United States. Our other distinguished guest, classical guitarist Stanley Alexandrovich, is internationally renowned for his thrilling virtuosity, poetic interpretations, and refined musicality. In addition to performing standard repertoire, he has premiered and commissioned over 100 works by composers from Europe, Asia, the United States, Cuba, and Latin America. He is currently professor of guitar at the College of New Jersey, or TCNJ. Again, thank you both so much for coming today.
Our pleasure, Marvin.
It's a pleasure.
Well, before we get to our main composer of the hour, Ivan Patovich, let us talk about your work as a soprano and guitar duo. When did the two of you meet, and how did this all begin? And who wants to talk? I mean, this is going to be interesting.
This is
but
interesting. This was destiny. We met, and during one of my tour in USA, with when I performing, I think in Lincoln Center, and we create our duo because. I discovered his talent. He liked my voice, so we create this beautiful duo. Stanley inspired me and convened me to recording this CD with Ivan Patovich. So we're recording together in Italy, and now we work together around the world because we're performing in Italy, in USA, and where else? Maybe Stanley.
We were in Washington, D.C. recently,
Yes.
performing the cycle. London a year and a half ago.
Yes, London. Yes.
And soon we'll be in Estonia playing together. And
wow, wow.
During international festival in Estonia.
Oh, that's great, great. There's some great composers living there now, too.
I hope to learn a lot more.
Yeah. When did you start, though? How many years is it now you're working together?
I think about 5 years total.
Really, 5 years just. Oh,
Four-
yeah.
4 to 5
Time
years.
is flying.
About 5
Yeah,
years.
yes. 5 years, I think.
Very good.
I was inspired by Dominika because she knew I worked a lot with singers because I think the guitar and voice is a very perfect balance and match, and they complement each other. And so she said, "Well, can you arrange some of these opera arias, famous opera arias?" So I was kind of startled because it's new repertoire. So I thought I'd learn a lot, and I learned a great deal about opera from her studying in Italy. So
Right.
we
Yes,
worked a lot.
and vice versa, because it's amazing experience to working with him, with Stanley. It's great because it is a very particular repertoire. We make opera arias like Bellini, for example, Casta Diva with classical guitar. It was not easy, but he make amazing arrangement for this aria, and many leader like Patovich leader and another composers also.
Very good. Well, speaking of our composer, Ivan Patovich, let's talk a little bit about him. How did you first of all get interested in him?
What happened was about a dozen years ago, a composer friend of mine from Baltimore, Kendall Kennison, who writes very beautiful atonal music, but he said to me, "We're doing a concert of Croatian music. Do you have anything you could play on our concert down at Goucher College?" And I didn't really know much at the time, and so I said, well, I'll look into it. So considering everything else was contemporary, I found some 19th century romantic things to balance it out. And I played a solo, and I think I did an aria with a different singer a long time ago. And but the music was just startlingly beautiful. And then I showed it to Dominika, and she was captivated.
Yeah,
So
when I see the first time when Stanley showed me this beautiful songs of Ivan Patovich, I was really shocked. It's so beautiful line, vocal line, like a little bit like bel canto line, and a little bit like Russian music. It's something like Tchaikovsky a little bit, but it's very comfortable for voice and very beautiful because you have to be able to make beautiful legato. And also a text is very interesting because it's my first time I'm singing in Croatian language. I was singing in many languages. I sing in Italian, in Latin, in Russian, Polish, Czech, and many others, French, of course, Spanish. But the first time in Croatian, but it's very sounds really great. This beautiful language for singing, very melodic language and very expressive. And this text is from romantic poets, Croatian poets. So it's really beautiful.
Yeah, it's a whole part of the world where there's so much other music. You know, we think of Italy, Germany, England, other places, but you think of places, Croatia and Slovenia, all these other places. It's just amazing, the composers and the talent, really, that's out there.
Yes, it's beautiful. Discover always new music.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Well, let's go now about the music itself. Tell us share with us some characteristics of it.
What I would say about the music is that Patovich was one of the great guitar virtuoso composers of the 19th century. There's sort of one in every country that stands out, and he was the big guy in Croatia. And he was blind when he was a young boy. He was hit in the eye with a stone. And then he wouldn't follow the normal path of life that a normal boy would do. And so he ended up being more introspective. He started to do his music lessons.
Did he get his sight back at all at any time?
It plagued him throughout his whole life. And by the end of his life, he was more or less blind, and he would have his students copy down his works.
Oh, gosh.
But so it led to a sort of interest. He toured the world, though, for up until his mid-40s. So he was playing throughout Russia and most of Europe. So he was a very busy fellow, and he kept busy. I think the songs are special, though, because his solo guitar works are more of the mainstream of the guitar writing of the period, virtuoso variations and fantasies on opera themes. But the guitar works with the voice really have his heart and soul in them. So I think it's a special grouping. And
very good. Very good. Well, both of you will be presenting a concert featuring the music of Ivan Patovich. It will be 1 week from today on Wednesday, May 10th at 7 p.m. at the Princeton Public Library, and that is 65 Witherspoon Street right here in Princeton, New Jersey. The phone number for more information is 609-924-9529. Now, will there be other things on the program or just
Yes, we have many plans. We were thinking also about Giuliani. This is an amazing Italian composer. He wrote so beautiful arias for voice and classical guitar. I'm studying this music. It's very difficult. It's very virtuosismo for voice, like a little bit like Rossini, a lot of coloratura, but it's really beautiful. It's like bel canto plus coloratura, something special. We're planning to performing also this composer. We have many plans, many concerts here in USA, also in Poland. We're planning something in Italy, of course. Stanley is well known now in Italy because we're performing together in Venice recently, and also he performed his solo recital in Padua with great success. People really love him playing. So we have many plans, international and of course international festival in Estonia. Maybe say something more.
On the Princeton Festival, I'll also include some solo guitar work, so Dominika can take a breather in between the great arias. And I'll do a piece by Johann Kaspar Merz, who was a Hungarian composer, and he was the great virtuoso of his country, and also by Johann Dubez, who is probably one of the greatest virtuosos of all time on any instrument. And he was both the greatest guitarist of the end of the 19th century, the head of the Zither Society, the first violinist in a string quartet, and harpist in the court orchestra when the court orchestra harpist couldn't be there. And when one of the emperor's relatives died, one of his zither pieces was actually placed in the coffin. He was so well known at the time. And so I'll include one of his big guitar works there.
Good. That sounds great. Once again, this will be 1 week from today on Wednesday, May 10th at 7 p.m. at the Princeton Public Library, 65 Witherspoon Street right here in Princeton, New Jersey. And once again, the phone number for more information is 609-924-9529. Well, let's go now to another composition of Ivan Patovich. And what are we going to hear?
Now we will be here Pobratimstvo. This means relationship. This is very beautiful piece. My favorite, I have to say. This is beautiful vocal line and beautiful guitar parts.
Well, very good. We're going to hear that now. Our soprano is Dominika Zamara, and the guitarist is Stanley Alexandrowicz. Music by Ivan Patovich. You were just listening to music by the Croatian guitarist and composer Ivan Padovic. And what did we hear, Dominika?
We did hear amazing song of Ivan Padovic, my favorite, Pobratimstvo. Pobratimstvo means relationship, friendship.
Okay, so very, very good. And thank you to be here to, I guess, do the commentary, I guess.
It's a big pleasure. Welcome
Anyway,
to Princeton Radio.
since we're talking to you, Dominika, what are some of the special or unique challenges that this music has given you as a singer?
This was amazing experience to singing, performing this beautiful music with Stanley. This is special because I discovered in this music something special. This is very good for voice technique, because it's like singing like bel canto music. This is beautiful legato line, not very high notes, but a lot of Padovic working with a medium part of medium register for voice. So it's very, very comfortable to pronounce very well this text. I think that for Padovic, this is cycle of leader of Padovic. So in leader, text is the most important. Text have to express emotion, especially in romantic music, because in opera, aria is only part of opera. But every leader talk about stories. So it is very beautiful to talking about this text, to this amazing poetry. And this is very also useful for me. Every composer, every language. It was my first time with Croatian language. So I learned a lot from this composer, and also I learned a lot of working with Stanley, because this is particular to singing with guitarist, and this is great experience.
Very good. Well, Stanley, we're going back to you. Don't get too comfortable.
Okay.
Now, you mentioned in your bio, or your bio has mentioned, that you have premiered and commissioned over 100 works, which that really intrigues me, of course, due to the show that I do here every week.
Yes.
Who are some composers who have written works for you?
Let me think.
Don't have to list all 100 of them.
Many.
I don't think I could remember all 100 of them. Ones recently that I've been premiering in that have been commissioned. Again, the piece by Kendall Kennison, my Baltimore friend who is professor of music at Goucher College. He about every 5 years he writes a piece for me, and first he sort of wrote a piece without my without my asking, actually, for two guitars and harpsichord. Then I said, "Oh, write a solo piece," and he came across with wrote a piece called Bermuda High, which is based on a Baltimore weather condition. But actually, the beginning sounds like Aschenbach in Death in Venice of Britain, sort of musing over a sort of turmoil situation. Years later, he took a piece for his a duo for violin and piano, and he arranged it for solo guitar, which was quite a challenge. Most recently, a sonata that I've been premiering around the world. I've played in Italy and London, and let's see, also recently a neo-Baroque work by Robert Butts, a good friend of Dominika and mine, whose music is very tonal and beautiful. So these things balance each other out.
Right.
And even recently, a Czech composer, Václav Kučera, I played his piece all around
yes,
the
I
world.
remember that.
And it was.
I think you gave me a concerto of his a number of years ago.
Yes, I gave the U.S. premiere of his concerto
Yes.
in about 5 years ago, and it's beautiful work, and it's a homage to Che Guevara. So it's politics aside, it's basically about the fallen hero, life's journey. So
Stanley, let me ask you one quick question, because when you commission a work,
yes.
do composers ask you for certain, I guess, issues involving the guitar, certain things, certain problems, or?
I think working with most of my friends are either composers or pianists, because I seem to learn from them. I try to learn from things I don't know and different instruments what they could do. So it's a give and take with the composer. They'll write something and say, if this can't be played, we'll try to rewrite
There
it.
you go. Okay, that answers the question.
Not too many of them are dogmatic, and then you have to do it this way. But most of them have a give and take, and I have a lot of freedom. And I found out historically, people like Julian Bream would rewrite pieces by William Walton in a different key, because it just suited the guitar better, which is kind of an amazing thing, and it's usually to the benefit of the music. So it's composers are generally very work with you. They're very flexible in making the music work.
Well, that's great. Well, let's go now to a solo performance of yours, Stanley. This is music again of Ivan Parovich, and I particularly enjoyed the Variations Opus 4. What would you like to say about that before we hear it?
What I would say is Parovich had sort of two sides to his personality, his publishing and his career. One was the virtuoso guitarist side, and he followed in the tradition of people like Giuliani, which his music kind of in the solo works mirrors, and I wouldn't say imitates, because it's very beautiful and special and particular to himself. And so he would do variation sets and opera fantasies arranged for guitar. This piece is really his homage to Giuliani in a certain way. He's showing off that he's the great guitarist of Croatia at the time, and it's an early work, and he actually rewrote the piece 20 years later for the 10-string guitar in a different key and with different variations. So Schubert's famous Opus 9 waltz. So it's a set of variations.
So let's listen to it, the whole thing. And our solo guitarist is my guest, Stanley Alexandrowicz.